Hi, everyone. It's Vince Molinaro, and welcome to this episode of the Lead the Future podcast. I'm excited to have our guest, Hege Sollie-Zetlmayer, who is the CHRO at PTC Therapeutics, Inc. PTC is a science-based NASDAQ-listed global biopharmaceutical company that is focused on discovery, development, and commercialization of clinically differentiated medicines that provide benefits to patients with rare disorders. So the work of the company is hugely important. And Hege brings a diverse set of experience and background as an entrepreneur, business leader, and that really positions her to provide critical advice on the most important HR issues facing companies today. She's had line roles as general managers, has had really key positions in the industry of pharma, and also brings a depth of experience as a senior HR practitioner in HR transformation, strategic alignment, business partner structures, organizational development, talent management, employee engagement, diversity and inclusion, performance management, executive compensation, executive succession and transition. What she's really learned in her global experience as she's led teams in Europe and Asia, in the US and the Middle East, is a real passion for equality and sustainability, and her really unending belief that company culture is truly the secret sauce of the success of any organization. And Hege also has board experience where she serves on the board of directors of PTC International. So with that, welcome Hege to the Lead the Future podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you about these critical talent and HR issues that companies are facing today, and really your perspective on what we need to do as leaders. So welcome.
Thank you, Vince. Oh my, you made me sound so amazing.
Well, it's because you are. You've got you. I'm so excited to talk to you and really really dig into your expertise and your insights on culture, on HR issues, on talent issues, and leadership. So let's talk a little bit about, so people know about kind of your role and also PTC and what it specifically does as a company.
Yeah, so as you said in the beginning, PTC is a biopharmaceutical company, and we are discovering, developing, and commercializing therapies for rare diseases around the globe, which is a very challenging area to be in, but also, I believe, one of the most rewarding places where you can work. And for us, patients are in front and in center of everything we do. And you can feel it, whichever PTC office you go to around the world, and we are in around 20 plus entities, legal entities around the world, you will feel this patient-centric and this passion to support, to innovate, and to support, to help patients and family around the world. So it really comes with something extra. And I've been here now 6 years, and it's not a minute during these 6 years where I haven't been proud of what I am representing.
That's great. And so in that 6 years, what have been what you have seen as some of the real significant challenges that you and your team had to help the company through in that period of time? Because obviously we had the pandemic and whatnot. What was critical in that 6 years?
So I think when I started 6 years ago, and PTC, I should say that we are 26 years now in March this year. So we are, as such, we're not a very young company, but we are also not very old. And it's a pioneering company, so done a lot. And obviously, then there are also it's not a straight line, right? It's a curvy road, it's bumps, yeah. Some you expect, some you don't expect. And often when you work with passionate, pioneering people that has scientist background and really want to make a difference, And these are very often also people who knows how to, you roll up your sleeves, you got yourself a hit on the nose, but you shake your head and you get up and you move on. It's a very special, these are not spoiled people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to work hard and have strong beliefs. When I came in, they didn't have an HR function as such. They, of course, had all the legal stuff, the contracts, the great insurances, the bonuses, and all these basic things. But they didn't have a human resources or a people philosophy, or kind of plans for how to develop people in the company. And we were around 380 people back then when I came in. We are now 1,000. And I got carte blanche to build, which was for me amazing, as I also kind of have a background as an entrepreneur, and I like challenges and I like to build things. To be able to do that and use everything I have learned during my, it's actually 30 years now in the biopharma industry. So I learned a lot. And then I could build a business partner structure, a global business partner structure. I later on could build a talent management business partner structure and also a talent acquisition and community business partner structure, so that we could work with all the different teams across the world. Where did I want to go with this? Yeah. So the team, myself included, and the business partners have a place at the table. I know from a lot of the conferences I've been to and conversations with other HR leaders that can sometimes be the challenge to get a seat at the table. But for us, that has never been a challenge. We have had the business partners in PTC have a natural place in the leadership team of the people and functions that they support.
Yeah.
And this, of course, has helped us being in forefront, has helped us designing the development programs we want to have, has helped us when we have had to make tough decisions. As you know, we did in 2023, we did a RIF, which was the right thing to do, but it's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And when you have the right partners with you, you can secure that these things are happening in the most thoughtful way possible.
So a lot of, I want to just touch on that, having that seat at the table, right? Because as you said, right, you go to HR conferences, everyone's talking about it, but fewer are able to make it happen. So what did you find was, your formula for success? Because it's not just about you having a seat at the table, it's your whole team. It's all the HR business partners. What was critical to make that happen?
I think, for me, it wasn't a problem for me to have a seat at the table. And also, honestly, I expected it.
Right.
I've been, as you said when you introduced me, I've also been a business leader for many years, for I think 8 to 10 years I was a business leader. I know the importance of having a diverse group of both expertise and functions around the table, so that we secure that when we make decisions, we base it on the right input, or the right input from a variety of function. And honestly, if HR wouldn't be there, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because most of the decisions that you make involves people. It involves organizational design. And if you then choose not to have the experts and the partners at the table in the discussion, what do you expect to get? So for me, it was never a question. And honestly, before PTC, when I was asked to take a role in other companies, that was my requirements. If that role was not at the seat of the leadership table, why would I even consider being there? My team, as I said, it's the kind of 3 or 4 expert group. You have the business partners, you have the talent management, you have the talent acquisition, and you have the community. The business partners are a team that are experienced in advising the business. And maybe we have particularly bright leaders in PTC, but anyways, they understand that there is a great value in having an HR business partner at the leadership table, and it works like a dream.
Yeah.
When a couple of years ago, I was kind of sending a tiny little survey to just check what works well, what should we do differently. And the one thing that came back loud and clear was, do not change the HR business partner function, because it works like a dream.
Well, that's
if they didn't sit at the table, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and that's great, affirmation of your work and the impact that your team is having, on the lives of your employees and ultimately the company. So I know that a big part of your, what drives you as a senior executive is this passion for company culture and really appreciating company culture as the secret sauce. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about how did you come to that insight? Was there a moment where you realized this is it, this is what we need to focus on? And then we'll get into, so what are some of the things you and your team are doing to really continue to strengthen the culture at PTC?
So first, the culture in PTC, I think, has been a great culture way before I came into the company. Mm-hmm. And it's because, as I said in the beginning, when the company started, it was passion, it was dedication, it was really hard work, it was determination, it was perseverance, it was all these things. But then, of course, as you grow, it is more difficult. You need to have more infrastructure in place as you grow as a company. And it's easy to take for granted that the culture that you grew up with or that you had is going to stay forever.
Yeah.
It's not. The culture is not something that, it's not dependent on your nice or not nice office. It doesn't sit in the walls, even if you can feel the atmosphere when you come into a good place, right? Like a home, sometimes you feel the atmosphere when you come in somewhere. Mm-hmm. But the culture isn't the CEO or the HR. The culture is every single person working in the company. We are the culture together. So when you hire people, you have to try to find people that you believe will fit into the culture. That doesn't mean that they should be similar, not at all. I mean, you don't want that, but you want people who kind of have some core values and what makes them tick. And you also want people who have the attitude that I have to roll up my sleeves. Yeah. And I think if you have leaders who really doesn't just say fancy stuff, but you can see that what you hear is what actually is happening. There are actions behind the words.
Yeah.
That builds trust. And when you have trust, you start also you want to protect your company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it is that passion for that core set of values, that passion for the vitality and the health of the company. And to your point, it's everyone's job, right? And I find sometimes, and I'd be curious in your perspective, if you've seen it in our work, sometimes, when we think culture among leaders throughout and managers, there's a default that, culture, well, that's the CEO's job, or that's the head of HR's job, or that's, the HR function's job to worry about. And sometimes I find there isn't the appreciation that, as you said, it's every person's job every single day to strengthen the culture. And we can take actions that either strengthen it or take actions that erode it. Is that consistent with your experience?
Yeah, 100%. And think about yourself. What's important for you? If in my work, it has been important for me to feel that when I come to a company, I feel like I can be here. I belong here. My experience is valued.
Yeah.
My voice is listened to. Sometimes my ideas are being accepted, sometimes not, but my voice are listened to. And I'm appreciated here.
Yeah.
Those are pretty basic things. And I don't think it matters much if you're a CEO or if you are a scientist or if you are the office manager. I think we all have this need to feel that we belong and we are appreciated. And in our company, that is how we want people to feel. And from the feedback that I get or we get, this is overall the feedback.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come by accident, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you have good leaders that share that vision. We are all here for a reason.
Yeah.
Every role that we have in our company and any other company is there because that role is needed.
Yeah.
So you have to let people play their roles.
Yeah. So,
and in order for them to do it well,
yeah,
they have to feel really comfortable, that they like it, that all these basic important things needs to be in place.
So those fundamentals of creating an environment of respect, an environment of opportunity, I think tied to that too, an environment of expectation that, to your point, everyone does have a role and you need to fulfill the expectations of that role. So speak a little bit to how you've gone about working with your leaders to continue to strengthen the PTC culture. I'm curious, and certainly we've had the privilege of working with some of your leaders, but that's a small slice of all the really exciting things you've been putting into place.
So I think we spend a lot of time on talent discussions or people discussion, if you will. It's really on high on the agenda always. When we went, for example, when COVID happened and we had to change absolutely everything, we doubled up on employee development. We never saved on that, and that has never been a fight within the leader group, never been, because everyone understands that if you want to keep people, if you want to develop people, if you want to keep them motivated and inspired, you need to allow them to grow.
Yeah.
And so that is one. And maybe I've been extremely lucky with the company I work for, but my experience is that I don't have to fight as an HR leader. I never have to fight to say we have to spend this amount of money or this amount of time. Yeah. On the contrary, as you know, Vince, the program that I am particularly very proud of because I'm kind of the mother of it. It's the Emerging Leader Program, where we said that because we want to create the reason behind my thinking in the beginning behind was that we want to make sure that when there is a generational shift on the top, we want to make sure that we will never have an issue with having diverse talents.
Yeah.
Right? And in order to do that, you need to build. We also knew that we have so many wonderful talents across the globe that can be the next generation of top leaders in the organization. So we decided to create a program called the Emerging Leaders, which you know very well because you have supported us and are supporting us, and we really appreciate that. In the Emerging Leader, we looked for talents that are high performer, obviously, and that we believe have the potential to take on bigger and bigger and bigger roles in PTC. And and who obviously also had the ambitions to take on a 6 months education on top of their day-to-day job, and that they have managers supporting them.
Yeah.
So we built this program on 3 tiers: leading myself, leading others, and leading in a disruptive world. And what speaks volume is that each and every member of the executive committee in PTC are having a role in this program.
Yeah.
They are either opening sessions where they share their journey, fully transparent. Can have the group ask whatever question you want to ask me about what happened in my past, about where we are going, what I think about this and that. Just ask. The executive team or committee and other senior leaders are also offering up time as sponsors. So they are meeting with the study group regularly. There is a lot of time invested in that. And to me, then you see that you have an organization we don't only say that this is important, this is the future, this is how you get the best people, keep them, grow them, develop them.
Yeah.
There are actions behind the words.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about the involvement of your executives, because I've been able to see it firsthand, and it's exactly what you said. I've been impressed with the time they spend, the openness and transparency that they speak of their own leadership experiences. And what I think it does, particularly for emerging leaders in particular, because for them, they're still kind of sorting out, is this something that I want to do? And what your executives have done really well in a very honest way is demystify what it means to be a great leader, what that journey is like, that it is about ups and downs, it is about obstacles, it is about great opportunities, but it's not always a straight line. And that, I think, is really appreciated by emerging leaders, because I think they come away seeing that I can do this. And that is a great part of that formula, is that executive involvement, because everyone appreciates how busy they are and all the other priorities they have that really warrant their time and attention, but they're making a commitment to be with them, and that's very powerful. In addition to your team's great design and compelling content and all of that, but that is, I've seen it work really, really well there, better than in most places. So that again is also, I think, going back to you and your team having that credibility with the business, having that seat at the table, and earning everyone's trust. So a senior executive will say, I have to support this initiative, right? And that I think is important. So a big part of culture, you talked about this sense of people feeling included, that sense of belonging. And I know certainly in our work together, this idea of a community of accountable leaders as being as being important. What have you learned about establishing this sense of community among leaders, and what it translates back to from a business standpoint? Because I know those ideas are important to you.
So I think, again, I don't want to overcomplify things. It's been the leaders I'm working with are generally very interested in it. Maybe because a lot of them have a scientist background, so you are normally curious and you are naturally interested. We also see that when we have introduced, for example, we have 7 ERGs, so employee resource groups, and a few business resource groups. When we have introduced those groups, it hasn't been a problem to find volunteers that says, hey, I want to lead that group. I want to co-lead that group. I have something to bring to the table. We create a lot of things for us internally. Programs, tools. So we haven't spent a lot of time on trying to go out there and find best practices for how to build communities or bringing in. We have had some great speakers, obviously, but most of it is homeborn.
Mm-hmm.
That our people are coming up with ideas, and then these ideas get feeds and start running, and yeah, I think. And what I see is that the leaders, we have the senior leaders, and they join communities. We have roundtables, discussions. We have the various senior leaders. We have our sponsors also for this for the employee resource groups. They join some of their meetings. It always has a space on the agenda. So it just works really well, because I think I know from my past, sometimes when you started initiatives like this, they tend to be a bit complicated. They tend
Mm-hmm.
to be a bit too big, so that you
Yeah.
would feel like, oh my Lord, I cannot add this onto my day job. It doesn't work. You don't
Yeah.
have to make things so difficult.
And that's really astute, I think, as another part of the formula for success, right? Is understanding what works within that organization,
Yeah.
and you realizing that a homegrown approach is really what is the way forward, and as a result, you're kind of engaging people to build PTC specific
Mhm.
development programs and whatnot, and that immediately resonate with leaders and managers and the culture, as opposed to bringing things in. And I think, to your other point, there's a simplicity, not that the what you've put in is in any way simple. There's complexity in great execution, but you've got a core set of offerings that really you keep driving through the environment. So
Yeah.
as we begin to wind down this discussion, I'm curious, as you look over the next 2 to 3 years, what's next for the work you're doing in continuing to strengthen the leadership culture at PTC?
So you know that we decided early on that we want to, and we discussed kind of what kind of philosophy do we want to have, and we decided that we're going to focus on strengths, people's strengths. So we are offering to all employees Clifton strengths, so
Mhm.
that you know your own talents that can become strengths when you know them and when you are allowed to use them. We use this. This is very appreciated by the whole organization. Everybody from the CEO and all the way, the whole organization are doing Clifton Strength, has done it, and are sharing it. And this has become part of our language. Like, these are my strengths, and we use them in certain, for example, me, when I have projects for my team, I know that I have that person who is really, really detail oriented. So if there is anything where the devil is in the details, I certainly need to have this person doing that.
Yeah.
Now, this person here is really good at seeing the big picture and creating ideas and what have you. So for that project, I need this person. Now, this is very successful. People love it. I love it. If I can use my strengths, my talents, and they can become a strength, I mean, in the company and outside the company, that is a win.
Mhm.
We will continue to use that going forward, because I think it's a success formula to really focus on what you're good at, not at what you're not as good at.
Yeah.
That's something we're going to continue to do. The same as we started last year, we started the coaching and mentoring center of excellence that has also proven to be very appreciated. So that's something we're also going to have even more focus on. Then we cannot avoid to look into AI
Mhm.
and how we can use AI smart without losing the human touch,
Yeah.
right? We as a company, we are very far in the AI development. In HR, we are using it a bit in talent acquisition. we can use it more in other areas of HR. I think we should. So that is something I'm together with my team are looking into it now. And as we are so lucky and we like homegrown things, we have an IT department that is amazing, that is going to work with us on seeing what kind of things should we be using. Because you have to be careful, right? You have to make sure that you always have this human touch and that you don't automize everything. Because then I think your culture is under pressure if you don't stay close to the business and close to the people.
Yeah. Awesome. And then one last question that I like asking, from where you stand and with all the extensive experience you have as a seasoned business leader and executive, what leadership advice would you have to young employees who looking to get into leadership roles at some point in their career?
So first and foremost, which is also why in the emerging leader we have those 3 tier, right? Lead yourself. You need to know if you really want to be a leader, because being a leader comes with quite a lot of sacrifices. And I'm very careful to tell people, like I have done for the emerging leaders, is that it is always great to be promoted. But as a leader of people, your responsibility is huge. If you don't do it right, you can destroy people's careers and also create big problems for the company. So you need to know what that entails, and you need to know if it is something for you. It isn't something for everyone. So that's kind of the first. That's where your leadership contract comes in very, very handy, Vince. Then I think don't be entitled. Do the work. Use your voice, but listen as much. And don't be entitled and not learn from people that has more experience than you have. And be intentional. If you know that you want something, then go for it. Go for it, but be smart about it. Don't walk into a room bigger than the door. That never helps. Learn from others. And then, if I may say, to companies and managers, give people a chance. How can they ever get experience if they don't get a chance?
Yeah. That's awesome. Great wisdom and advice as I would have expected. Well, thank you, Hege, for the conversation, for your valuable insights on culture, on what's critical for HR leaders, and ultimately, how do you foster a sense of belonging in community and organizations. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Vince. It was an honor for me.